Hello and welcome back to the channel on our continuing voyage to become better blues players. My name's Mark, and in this lesson we're going to look at what I think is my best acoustic blues solo, or if not my best, certainly my favourite one to play. It's over a 12-bar blues in E called She Moves, and it goes like this. So there you heard the solo, and what I'll do now is I'll briefly explain the chord progression. It's an almost standard 12-bar blues, and then I'll show you the licks and with tab on screen as well. The tab for this lesson is available. Drop me an email and I will send you the PDF. Okay, so it's a 12-bar blues in E. I'll put like a regular 12-bar blues chord progression on screen, but what I actually do is, I think it's bar 10 is different, because bars 9 and 10 would be where we go from the B7 to the A7. In this chord progression, we're going from a B7 up to a C7 and then back to the E. Okay, that's kind of the only difference between that and a regular 12-bar blues chord progression. It's a little chord substitution. That's pretty common in blues. It's not the most common, but you know, it's not unheard of either. So I use this on the song She Moves from the Northbound album. And this is just a 12-bar solo, and I'll take you through the licks now. So lick 1 goes like this. Okay, and I'll do it nice and slow. Okay, I'll put the tab on screen so you can follow along. At the end of the video, I'll actually do a little dissection and talk a little bit about why I chose particular licks. But that was lick 1. Lick 2 now goes like this. And I'll do it nice and slow. Okay, I don't think it's tabbed, but that, what's that note there? That's 15 on the B string. There's a little bend on that one. Okay, before in there. It's not, you can barely hear it on the record, and it's just a little movement. And you'll find like a lot of these notes, there's little pushes here and there on them, which is so incidental that usually they're not tabbed. But anyway, that was lick 2. Lick 3 goes like this. Okay, and nice and slow. Okay, so that's where we've now moved over to the A chord. Still on the A chord, we then get lick 4, which goes like this. Okay, nice and slow, starting with this pull off. And lick 5 now goes like this. Okay, I'll do it nice and slow. And again, pushing a note there, this time 8 on the B string. Not really tabbed because it's just like a little tiny push, but just little dirty push. Okay, so lick 5 is where we've moved from the A chord back to the E chord, and now we're going to play over the B7 chord, and so that's lick 6, and it goes like this. Okay, and nice and slow. Okay, and now where are we? Lick 7 is over the C7 chord. And again, nice and slow. Okay, So that was lick 6. That was over the C7 chord, and actually moved back into the E chord as well. This is lick 8. This is the last lick. This is again over the E chord, and that's going to go like this. And nice and slow. Okay, so there's all the licks. I'll play the whole solo now, unaccompanied, nice and slow. So it comes in just before before you got this 4 stab of a B7 raise 9. Okay, so there it was slow as well. Okay, so let's talk about some of those licks now. The first one is a lick that, I should say, the whole solo, when I recorded it, was completely improvised. Now, I say completely improvised. I knew where the chord progressions were, where the certain chords were, and I knew kind of how that I needed to tackle those. So I decided that already. But the actual solo itself was improvised. I think we took about 3 or 4 takes, and they all sounded totally different, and I just picked the one that I liked best. But I knew with all of them, as I often do with an improvisation, I knew the opening lick that would get me in there, and then I'd be able to improvise there. So I deliberately picked this opening lick, and it's a lick I learned about, I don't know, 20 odd years ago or something. But if you imagine we're in box position 2, and we're going to slide the B string and then hit the top E string in box position 2, we'd get this. And then we're going to do the same but in box position 3. And then in box position 4. Okay, and that's where that idea comes from. It's literally just B string, top E string in box position 2, then 3, then 4. So that's where that came from. Like a lot of these licks, actually sounds great on electric guitar as well. I've learned that as an electric guitar lick, and I just used it on acoustic. Okay, lick 2 is kind of, you got to be careful. It's quite fast because of those pull-offs. You're going to need an acoustic guitar with a cutaway in order to do that, which is why I always play with the acoustic with the cutaway, because I like playing right up there, basically because I'm an electric guitar player who happens to be playing an acoustic guitar. Some other interesting things, you'll notice that by the time we get into lick 3, I'm deliberately landing this note here as the chord changes from the E to the A. So lick 3 actually starts on beat 4 of bar 4 and plays across into bar 5. And the important thing is I'm deliberately targeting that note there because the chord progression's gone to an A. Some other things to note, I use this. If you've followed my lessons up to now, you'd have seen this before. I love that little figure there. It sounds so dirty and bluesy, particularly on an acoustic guitar, although it works on electric as well. So I used that in, what was that, lick 5. Now, the interesting part of this, and probably the reason why I like it, and I think it's probably my best solo, or my favourite of the ones I played on the Northbound album, is because of how I'm treating this B7 to C7 chord. So the B7 to C7, and I play this. Okay, so over the B7, what I'm doing is I'm highlighting a B9 arpeggio by sliding in. I'm just playing the notes of the chord. If you think of the chord and then you add this one on top, that gives you the B9 arpeggio. So that's just highlighting that B7 chord. Now to go to the C7, there's lots of things I could do. I could just do the same thing but upper fret, and that would have worked. I chose not to. I chose deliberately to go to A minor pentatonic is what I was thinking, because A minor pentatonic and C major pentatonic are all the same notes, same shapes. So that's what I was basically doing. So that's why we jump down here and go. Because what I'm doing is I'm seeing that A minor pentatonic box shape, but deliberately ending the lick, hitting this E note here, because that's the root of E. So that's like the chord progression has now gone back to the E. So there's some interesting things in there. There's a jam track available. You can play over that yourself. Like the song on the record, it works in this. There's a verse section, verse chorus, which is like the 12 bar that I've just demonstrated. But then there's a bridge section. So the backing track goes like 2 verses, then a bridge, 2 verses, then a bridge, 2 verses, then a bridge, etc. Now the bridge section's quite interesting. I'll just show you what it is. So if you want to jam over and improvise over the backing track yourself, which I'd encourage you to do, it's quite a fun one to improvise. You're probably going to want to know what the chords are. So for the bridge, I come up to C major 7, to a B minor 7, back down to an A minor 7, back up to a B minor 7 again. Then start again, C major 7, B minor 7, and then a minor. I do this little walk up thing before hitting the B7, and then what I do is 4 times stab a B raised 9. Which you probably know is the Hendrix chord, although usually the Hendrix chord it's in E. I've just nicked that and put it down there to end this before we can, because that then nicely leads back to the E. Okay, and that's basically the whole song. Those chords. Now, if you want to improvise over it yourself, over that bridge section, the C major 7 section, you can use E minor pentatonic, will still work absolutely wonderfully well. You can jump to A minor 7, which will give you the C major kind of feel. So that also works really well. You can jump to C major and just play the regular C major scale. Any of those scales will work. If you just want to jam out and not think about scales too much, you can play E minor pentatonic over the entire thing. Okay. One last thing to mention before we go. I'll actually show you the rhythm part that I played on the acoustic guitar for the verse part. So it's 12 bar blues in E, but I'm kind of dressing it up a little bit so it doesn't kind of sound exactly like every other 12 bar blues in E that you've heard. So it doesn't do this. Okay, which we all know and love, but I wanted to write something that felt a little bit more original. So the actual rhythm goes like this. Okay, and what that is, technically, I think that's called like an E major to an E11. I'll be honest, I'm just thinking of those as both as E7. So the important thing is the bass just continues with the E for the whole thing, and I'm actually drawing out the note. If you play a D chord over, or part of a D chord over an E bass, you get that E11 sound, and it's got that kind of sus sound to it. It's kind of like playing an E7 but then adding in a sus4. It's got that sound in it. And all I'm doing is using my thumb to pick the bass and using those 3 fingers to pick the D, G and B strings. Okay, and then when we get to the A chord, I do this. And what I'm doing there is, if you think of that, I'll tell you where the idea came from. If you think of the All Right Now chord, although that's the wrong rhythm, but it's that thing. Okay, so we all know that chord from that song. Now, all of these chords are actually covered in my chord lesson as well. If you haven't seen that, go have a look at that, because I go through every single blues chord I ever use, and there's a chord chart and all the rest of it. But that's one of those A7 chords that I explain in that lesson. And all I'm doing is I'm also kind of fooling around with the second fret of the top E string with my index finger and pull it off. So you get this. And then back to the riff. Okay, and then there's a B7 chord, which is a regular B7. And then there's a C7 chord, which is a regular C7. And then we're back to the riff. Okay, if you want to hear the original song, it's on Spotify, YouTube, and like a million other things. Northbound Acoustic Blues. The song's called She Moves. There's a backing track available. See the details below for that. There is tab available. See details below for that. Send me an email. My details are in there, and I send you the PDF back. Hope you've enjoyed this. I haven't done an acoustic lesson for a while, so I thought I'd do this, and I thought I'd do one of my own songs, so at least I know I'm not infringing anyone's copyright. Thank you to the Patreon supporters who make all this possible by paying for the lights and the camera and everything else. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Take care, and I'll see you again.